Welcome to the Mask Fan Attic, my fellow Mask fanatics. It's time once again to take another look at a cool and interesting old monster mask for your viewing pleasure here in the attic. Above Horror Hotel. Tonight's mask goes way back. In fact, let me go way back to where it is here. There it is, right there. It's none other than my close personal friend, the monster of Piedras Blancas. That's right, Piedras Blancas. Now, the monster of Piedras Blancas is from a movie that came out in 1959 called The Monster of Piedras Blancas. Why do I have the feeling you got a little bit ahead of me right there? Monster Piedras Blancas was in fact the first and oldest monster movie that I personally can ever remember seeing. I saw it on television in the middle of the afternoon when some crazy TV station was showing bloody, scary movies when small children could and were in fact watching. That's when I saw it, and I think it's the first monster movie I ever saw. It had this great scene in which the monster had chopped off someone's head, because that's what he does. He likes heads for some reason. He collects human heads in his cave. Gee, no wonder. Now that I've said that out loud, no wonder I like this monster. Just like me, he collected heads. When they find his cave, there's a pile of heads there. Maybe he was like a prehistoric ancestor of all of us mask collectors of today, you know. Anyway, there's a scene where a little boy finds the headless corpse of one of the local citizens and says, I think his name was Mr. Kochek or something like that, and the little boy's saying like, I saw Mr. Kochek and he didn't have any head. And I was a little kid when I saw that, and I thought, boy, that's cool. That monster Piedras Blancas, yeah, he doesn't fool around. And he was this big, scaly, creepy crustacean thing that came out of the ocean and decapitated people. And I was very impressed because I had never known anybody quite like that before him, you see. So I don't know that that's what started me on the whole, monster thing and monster movie thing and horror thing and all that, but it could be. It was certainly a contributing factor to my misspent life and general delinquency, having been exposed to Monster of Piedras Blancas at a young and tender age, which I cannot recall exactly now. But anyway, the monster here has been since created several times, and as various mask editions, been brought to mask life for the benefit of collectors everywhere, for the enjoyment and beautification of your home. There's been a great version by Scott Doring and a great version by Chris Russell of TwistedToyBox.net. But I think my favorite is still this one, which is the first one I had ever seen, which was created by none other than Cathy Tharp. Cathy Tharp worked at Don Post Studios for many years, and obviously knew a lot about sculpting and molding and painting and casting, mask making from her experience at Don Post, which would have been like in the 1970s. This mask was just a private personal project that Cathy Tharp created in the late 80s, somewhere in there. And this is one of the first couple of them out of the mold. This is either number 2. This is either number 2 or 3, I think. It might be number 2. But anyway, you don't care what number it is, do you? No. It was never officially put into production by Don Post Studios, was never offered to the public. No version of this particular monster has ever been put into production, has ever been mass-produced, cataloged, sold to the public. They have only been collector editions made by private artists who just, like myself, dig this monster, you know? And he is a pretty cool monster, isn't he? What is he exactly? Well, according to the movie, he's a mutated variation on some species called the Diplovertebron. And, well, they came up with an awfully good word for him. Isn't that a good word? Say that with me. Let's say that together. Diplovertebron. Yeah, that's just a great word, diplovertebron. You gotta like diplovertebron, LeBron James, anyway. There's no such real life equivalent. This was in the movie. He was a diplovertebron. There weren't really guys like him walking around. Just him. Yeah, he's the only one. Now in the movie, he's a full body rubber suit that's this cool, creepy looking, kind of scaly, but with big veins on it. Somewhere between Creature from the Black Lagoon and It the Terror from Beyond Space in his design, and yet unique and different from any of those. And by the way, don't be one of those people who post things online saying something like, "Oh, that's the same costume from It's Terror from Beyond Space." You have no idea, people who say things like that. I hope I never come off like those people who post those things that are just wronger than wrong about old monster movies. But I hope I don't sound like that. But I think I don't, because I know that it doesn't look like any of those monsters. People also think, oh, it's the same body as Creature from the Black Lagoon. Well, if you have eyes, it's not that hard to notice. It really doesn't look much like Creature from the Black Lagoon either. It just has similar looking, a similar theme. That is to say, it's something that comes out of the ocean. But whereas the creature looks more like a fish, and It the Terror from Beyond Space looks more reptilian, like more of a lizard, this thing doesn't really look like anything other than maybe a crustacean, maybe some sort of lobster or crab man. Now, I don't know what color it was painted in the movie. You can't tell because it was an old black and white movie. So really, it would be legitimate to paint one of these orangey, brown, you know, the colors one associates more with crabs and lobsters and crustaceous individuals like that. That would be cool too. However, he was shown to be light green in an episode of the old TV series Flipper. There was an episode where some people were making a monster movie, and I believe they actually had Rico Browning, the guy who played the original Creature from the Black Lagoon in the swimming underwater scenes, playing this monster, but it wasn't supposed to be a real monster in the context of the Flipper episode. He was an actor, and it was a costume, and they were making a movie. So I don't know that I don't know that it was supposed to be that same monster. They weren't thinking about Monster from Piedras Blancas, Monster from Piedras Blancas. It was just a movie they were making, and he was probably just some, you know, sea monster. Now, interestingly, as far as ties to other monsters, now I know you don't wear ties. No, I know that. I didn't get you a tie for Christmas either. No. As far as ties to other monsters, strange as it may seem, the original costume seen in the movie, 1959, had the feet of the Metaluna mutant from this island Earth, and the feet of the mutant look a lot like the hands of the mutant. They have two big pincher-like claw toes going on. And he had the hands of the mole people from 1956, which all looks really cool when you put it together, when you this head and the mole people's hands and the mutant's feet and this creepy plated, armor-plated body with the big veins. It made a great looking monster. However, it doesn't really make sense with the script, because in the script of Monster of Piedras Blancas, they keep telling us that people's heads are snipped off almost like with some sort of tool or blade or scissors or some sort of cutting implement. But the mole people actually have hands with virtually no thumbs and these big, thick, rounded claws. These hands would be terrible for chopping off people's heads. So I imagine maybe he carried around a big set of hedge clippers, sort of like Cropsey in The Burning, and snipped their heads off that way. And the authorities were just mistaken in their assumption that he had used his monster claws. But what are these? These are mole people hands, which I painted light green so that I would have a set to go with the mask of Monster Piedras Blancas. These are original movie mold mole people hands, and they're around. Lots of people have mole people hands in their collections. Not that many green pairs out there, because most people have them painted to match the mole people, who were traditionally brown. But I thought, once I finally got this guy in the collection in the late 80s, I thought, yeah, I should have some green mole people hands to go with him, because he's like an old friend. And as I said 3 hours ago when I started this segment, he and I go way back, of course. So always happy to have the Monster Piedras Blancas around, and well, whether you can find a Cathy Tharp one, or a Scott Doring one, or a Chris Russell one, or some other one by some other worthy artist, I certainly do recommend having a mask of this outrageous and very unique and strange creature in your mask collection. And well, that's all I have to say about him. And so until next time, I'll see you at Mask Fest, right?